Hello everyone, we are from Group 6 and we will be identifying the country risk for Myanmar. Before we begin, I would like to give you an overview about our content. This is our team member. Let us begin with the short introductions. Myanmar is the largest country by area in mainland Southeast Asia, and it has a great economic potential such as massive natural resources, strategic positions, and young populations. However, currently Myanmar is facing problems such as political instability and financial challenge and etc. For our presentations, we will be analyzing the country risk from 5 risk factors such as political risk, economic risk, financial risk, social risk, and environmental risk, as well as assign the score and weight respectively. Then, we will result in overall country risk by summing up the score of those risk factors. We will consider the higher the score, the higher the risk for the country.
My name is FAZA NIAGARA with metric number 282745. I would like to explain about political risk. Political risk is defined as a risk that can be suffered as a result of political change or political instability in a country. There are 3 indicators in this part, such as human rights, corruption, government instability, and political violence. Human rights, our group assigned a score for this indicator is 91/100 and weighted the second highest such as 34.56%. Due to the lowest freedom rate and lot of the height of human misery in Myanmar, the result will be 31.45. Secondly, corruption. Myanmar has low score of corruption perception index which is 23 with 0 means very corrupt. So for this reason, we assign a score of 77 out of 100 for this risk. And this is not affected too much by the other indicators, so it was weighted 29.25%. As a result, the factor score for the corruption rate is 22.52. The last is government instability and political violence. The 7-decade civil war in Myanmar is evidence that political peace and stability were impacted by power struggles. Myanmar's political stability and lack of violence in 2021 was 4.717%, the worst over 25 years. The score is 95.28 over 100 due to the large number of victims and losses. The weight is 36.19%, which is the highest, because it's the most affecting to the rest indicators, and also the chaos in Myanmar increased victims of political violence, so the result will be 34.48. So overall for political risk over 3 indicators will be 88.55 with the calculation below.
Now is economic risk. It is a risk of investing in a company opportunities in an international market, and it is difficult to predict or formulating plans to control the risk. I will briefly talk about the 3 indicators such as employment rates, inflation rate, and the growth rate of GDP. Due to the sector of agriculture, forestry, and fishing employing more than 60% of workforce, which contribute about 24% of the overall GDP. Based on the table beside, Myanmar unemployment rate is predicted rise to approximately 2% in 2023. Since we found that 3% to 5% is considered healthy for employment rates, we assign a score of 2 out of 5 on Myanmar. Then, we assign the highest weight for 40% because employment rate will affect inflation rate and GDP based on the economic concept. When the employment rate increase, the firm will decrease their expenses, then this lead to deflations, then the output will decrease, lower revenues, and affect the GDP growth. So, the weighted score for unemployment rates is 16%. Now we have covered about the unemployment rates, let's move on to inflation rate. For the inflation rate in 2023 was predicted to increase to 14%. The score was assigned 4 out of 5 because 14% is under the 4th stage, which was named as galloping inflation. Its category rate was 10% inflation rate or more than it. We have assigned a weight of 35% on inflation. It's because due to the inefficiency of central bank policy on cap valuations. Price increase has cut down the consumer purchasing power, consumption decrease, and the GDP will decrease. So, the weighted score for inflation was 28%. The last indicator was the growth rate of GDP. Based on the data, 2023 was predicted to be 2.58% for the growth rate of GDP and was predicted to increase for the following year. A score of 2.5 out of 5 is given. It's because 2.58 is in the middle of the category among the 5 stages of category for growth rate. We have assigned a weight of 25% because the GDP growth is affected by unemployment rates and inflation. Besides that, the country is still embroiled after the military coup happened in the 2021. As a result, a weight score of 12.5% is calculated. So, this slide shows how I calculate the overall economic risk.
Financial risk is the opportunity for financial loss in an investment or commercial enterprise. The 3 indicators of financial risk is government debt, the underperform of pillar industries, and market risk that will be discussed in this video. First, the government debt for Myanmar has increased year by year and reached 62.5% of GDP on December 2022. It means that Myanmar's ability to pay back its debt is weak, or the number of years needed to pay back debt is longer. Hence, Myanmar's creditworthiness and credit rating is low. This factor weighted 40% because it is a crucial source of funding for a government. Therefore, this factor scored 31.92. Second, February 2021 revolution had a significant negative influence on Myanmar's pillar industry agriculture sector. Therefore, the worst performance in pillar industries indicates an investment risk in Myanmar because investors are unwilling to invest in countries with unstable development. It assigned the least weight of 25% because Myanmar can focus on other main industries like the mining industry and tourism, which might give a positive effect on development. Therefore, this factor scores 16.25. Third, the two elements of market risk perform not well in Myanmar. Myanmar's stock price index keeps decreasing and served unstable until 2023. It reached 362.95 in February 2023. Myanmar's net performance is getting worse in 2023 and dropped to MMK 2089.62 per 1 USD. The market risk has a second highest weight of 35% due to it specifies what an investor should or should not buy at any moment and under any specific circumstance. Hence, this factor score 28. By some of the three factors of financial risk, Myanmar has a financial risk score of 76.17, which indicates moderately high level of financial risk.
My name is EZZATY SHAHADAN, metric number 288642. I will explain about social risk. Social risk is the risk of losses from the institution's counterparties or investor assets, existing or future social elements. Crime rate. The country has experienced political turmoil since the military coup in February 2021, which has led to widespread protests and violence. Myanmar has the third highest crime in the world, which resulting score of 76 over 100. We assign a weighted crime rate of 45.81% as the highest weight because the crime increases in the past 3 years scored 67.23. As a result, the factor score for crime rate is 34.82. Education level. Children and youth in Myanmar have lost all rights and privilege with quality education because of protest movement against the military coup in 2021. The consequences, Myanmar's education score is 46 over 100, the weighted is 27.73%, that makes edu level be the second highest weight because the literacy rate is 93.09% in the world. Therefore, the factor score for education level in Myanmar is 12.76. Social inequality. Global and national statistics indicate gender inequality happens in Myanmar, which is limiting women's participation in decision making. In 2020, gender inequality index is scored 43.9 over 100. Because of that, the weight that has been ascribed is 26.46%, which is the least significant weight. Therefore, the total score for this factor is 11.62. Overall, a score of 59.19 for social risk indicates that Myanmar has a moderate level of social risk.
Environmental risk is defined as harm or potential environmental catastrophe caused by both natural phenomena and human behavior or human activities. While environmental risk assessment or ERA is a vital method for estimating the likelihood or negative consequence from human-caused environmental change. This environmental risk is divided into three factors. First one is environmental regulations, the vulnerability of natural disaster, and the climate change policies. Because of overexploitation in natural resources such fisheries for overfishing and deforestation, causing more serious problems such solid waste management and air pollution, leading to more imbalanced ecosystem and environmental degradation.
A score of 80 indicates the highest score among other factors, the bad performance for environmental regulation in the country. In 2022, Environmental Performance Index or EPI for Myanmar was 90.40 out of 100. The weight of environmental regulation is the highest at 37%, which also the highest among other factors. The weight illustrates the lack of regulation in Myanmar, hence the total score is 29.6%. The climate change is exacerbated by human expansion, the absence of regulation and the susceptibility to natural disasters. The score of climate change policies are assigned 60 at 0.28 weight, which was the lowest percentage compared to other factors because the climate change is primarily influenced by the changing character of the world and the Earth's climate system, which includes rapid temperature fluctuation. Vulnerability to natural disasters scored 7.6 while the weight at 0.35. It is more heavily than climate change. The natural disaster estimates will cause up to 3% of Myanmar's annual GDP, and the effect may be even greater in the long run. And the total score is 26.6%.
As you can see, political risk was assigned the highest weight for 30%. It is because Myanmar is still have significant negative influence on their economic and effects on business might last for a very long time due to the military coup happened since February 2021. Then, the second was economic and financial risk. They have the same weighted for such as 24% respectively. It is because they both are interconnected, and when the economic activity in Myanmar has decreased due to the reasons stated in report, it affects financial industry due to the lower foreign investments and the trade restriction. So the social risk was the second lowest for 12%. It is because the social problem in Myanmar has decreased and the crime rate for 2020 has declined by 99.59% from 2016, as shown in the Appendix 14. Lastly was the environmental risk. It was weighted the least for only 10% because we found out that the natural disasters are not frequently happen in Myanmar.
Political risk weighted the highest, 30%. The second highest weight is 24% for both economic risk and financial risk. Social risk weighted 12% and environmental risk weighted 10%. To conclude, political risk scored 26.54, economic risk 13.56, financial risk 18.28, social risk 7.1, and environmental risk 7.3. Therefore, the total country risk for Myanmar is 72.78 and is considered a high level of country risk. There are some ways to help in analyzing and managing country risk. First, investors should only move capital to a nation during periods of equilibrium in the foreign exchange rate. Besides, prevent exposure to foreign exchange rate risk and borrow domestically. Another way is to consider the amount of capital needed. Furthermore, spread out the cost of the purchase across to enable cheaper purchases of native currency in the event of a devaluation. These are the calculation of total country risk from Myanmar by using Excel. As a result, by sum all the 5 risks that we discussed before, the total country risk for Myanmar is 72.78. So that's all for our group. Thank you.